And joining us in studio now is Matt Chipman, old friend of the program. Matt, of course, is the editor-in-chief of the Green Baron Report. Matt, always great to see you.
Glad to be here again, Don.
You know, Matt, it's been a while since we had you on the program. We always like to talk about politics and how it affects the economy and money. But we've seen an extraordinarily volatile session with the Dow throughout all of 2014, really. We've seen record highs. We've seen weeks where they've had tremendous upswings. We've seen weeks where there's been tremendous downswings. But more importantly, how does that affect what you and I tend to follow, which is a small microcap market?
Well, the volatility has certainly increased, especially very recently. We've seen a little bit of a pause in the market, which was probably overdue. I think the small cap space, the micro cap stocks, as we were talking earlier, has taken a bit of a hit, more so because there was that bubble we had maybe in the marijuana related issues. Some of the fast money and the trading issues that you get did come down. So I think a lot of them are oversold now of all things. And we were actually seeing a pickup in some of the stocks that we think are dramatically oversold.
Well, it's been really interesting to watch that space because we've had a number of those companies that are in and around that space on the program. All of them have done extraordinarily well. And as you mentioned, there was a hiccup, I guess, somewhere around March or April of this year. But it seems like, as you mentioned, that's kind of bottomed out.
Well, we actually picked up coverage on one last week ourselves that you know had come down. I think it's down 90% from the high. So and the company has acquired 3 companies in that space. So you'd think, you know, more than ever, they're better situated for these new ballot measures that are coming on the ballots to continue to analyze and approve either medical use or possibly even recreational use, like they're talking about maybe in Oregon, Hawaii, and other states.
Yeah, it's pretty much been decided. I guess the polls are leaning very heavily in Oregon that recreational is going to pass. Florida's next on the ballot. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on. It's not like the space is going anywhere. Colorado has experienced tremendous revenues, tax revenues. The other states are all looking at their empty treasuries and looking at this and saying, hey, this is a good idea.
Yeah, I think they are. You know, going back to the markets selling off, I mean, look, we've had a lot of things that are hurting us right now. Of course, the Ebola concerns. I mean, if you're going to have people that are going to stop sending their kids to school and buttoning down until this passes, you know, that's going to affect the economy. Oil price is taking a decline. I mean, things really started to break down a little bit. The Dow is heavily weighted into the energy sector. You've got a lot of big oil companies on the Dow now. And so when things do sell off some, you've got a pullback. But look at the bright side. I mean, your gas prices are going to be lower. The economy may even pick up more. And the Fed has said that interest rates are going to stay low. So.
Well, I'll give you a great example. On the way to the studio today, I had to fill up. And it was a full $15 less to fill up than it had been at the peak when the gas prices were close to $5 a gallon this past summer. And, you know, that happens to enough consumers. That extra 10 or 15% finds its way into retail stores.
You know, we haven't had those kind of breaks. A lot of people think the economy is doing better than it was, but I've also heard a lot from people that are still hurting. And they haven't seen the breaks happen, and now we're maybe going to get some of those breaks for the consumer.
Well, one of the things that we have to worry about, of course, is the second round of sign-ups for Obamacare. We just found out today that there are millions of people that are going to find out prior to November 1st that their new insurance plans are being canceled. So that starts all over again. I remember, you know, using me as an example. When, you know, my original policy was canceled, the new policy I had to buy to replace it was double the cost.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with healthcare plans. Because we are self-employed or we have our own businesses. We had to go through all of that, and I'll tell you, I was canceled and had to actually take Obamacare for my family. But we'll see where things change from here. It's interesting.
But it's good to know that a couple of guys our age now have maternity care for ourselves. We really needed that. That was part of the mandate.
I don't like being forced to take any part of a policy that I can't use. So anyway, that's interesting.
So outside of the medical cannabis industry, what other segments are you looking at right now?
Well, I mean, I think we still like some of the companies in the energy space. There's high technology. There's some breakthrough technologies that we're looking at from some companies that I think are fantastic. There is a payment solution provider we're going to pick up coverage of soon that I think is going to explode. there's a lot of interesting things. We're going to be busy, so I suggest your audience take a look at thegreenbaron.com. We also just kicked off marijuanastockpicks.com because we do agree with you that sector is going to get interesting. And now that the big sell-off in that industry occurred, I think that's ready for a pickup.
The Green Baron Report, again, the website is thegreenbaron.com. Matt Chipman's the editor-in-chief. Matt, always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me on again, Don.